is review of learning experience, reflections on learning experience, analysis of learning artifact, reflections result in the growth of meaningful learning. And here the topic of the course that we study about assessment 2 is there are 3 topics. The first one is understanding student characteristic through initial assessment. Topic 2, teaching at the right level, approach in lesson planning and assessment. And topic 3 is culturally responsive teaching approach in lesson planning and assessment. Meanwhile, in this occasion, I would like to deliver my reflections on the topic 2, which is teaching at the right level, approach in lesson planning and assessment. So, review of learning experience. What learning experience are useful and interesting? Well, learning about the teaching at the right level approach has been one of the most meaningful and practical learning experience for me as an educator. It helps me understand that teaching is not just about delivering content based on a grade level standard, but also really seeing where my students are, what they already know, what they struggle with, and how I can support their progress. What I find most interesting about TRL is how it puts students at the center of the learning process. This approach reminds me of the key 31 philosophy of education, where learning should follow the growth and needs of the learner. Well, it encouraged me to step back and ask, are my students truly ready for what I'm teaching them? If not, what can I adjust in my lessons so that I'm just moving forward for the sake of finishing the syllabus? Learning TRL has given me a clear structure in planning lessons, which consists of 3 essential parts. The first one, learning objectives that are realistic and based on the current ability of students, not just what their curriculum says they should know. Second, assessment at the beginning to understand the student actual learning level, so I can improve them or provide the right support. The third, learning activities that are engaging, achievable, and match with what students need to learn next. So one analogy that stood out to me was the comparing lesson plan to preparing for a journey. Just like we wouldn't go on a trip without food, money, or a clear destination, we shouldn't teach without proper planning. If we skip important preparation, the journey or lesson might get derailed. That really made me reflect on the importance of being intentional in designing a lesson, especially in terms of time management, material, and strategy. Another thing that I found valuable is learning how to choose the appropriate teaching methods, such as using discussions, hands-on activity, or even simple tools like flashcard or storytelling, depending on the student level. I also learned the importance of choosing material and media that are accessible and meaningful to my students. Even something simple like a short video or a real-life object can make a big difference when it matches their level and interest. Overall, this learning experience helped me to see that planning and assessment should always be based on student real needs. It's not just about finishing a lesson plan, it's about making sure students are truly learning. TRL reminded me that my role as a teacher is not to rush through the content, but to guide each student from where they are to where they can be. That requires passion, flexibility, and genuine understanding of each learner progress. Second, reflections on learning experience. Here are some steps that we have to follow, start from letter D. At this stage, we are asked to write down the things we want to learn more about this topic, and there is no submission because we deliver it in oral, so we just discuss it together with the lecturer and explore as a concept. This stage covers the material about TRL itself, so including component of lesson and assessment design, which consists of learning objective, assessment, and learning activities. So there is no submissions because we have to learn the material from the video and also from the text PDF. The next ruang kolaborasi. At this stage, we are asked to review the lesson and assessment plan we have created, so that in the future, the lesson and assessment plan we develop can be understood and used by all teachers. And here is my learning artifact. So in here, I write down what I already teach in the 10th grade. Start from komponen rancangan, kondisi ada 3, score, something like this. And at the demonstrasi contextual, we were asked to evaluate the learning activity by designing assessment activity and mapping them according to the guidelines. Here is the So here is some about reflections, something like this. And the last reflections result in a form of meaningful learning. Considering the principle of meaningful student-centered learning, what change will I make regarding this topic? There are several things that I will do. The first one, I will begin the learning process with a diagnostic assessment that not only measures cognitive